Well, welcome everyone to our Vision 90 Zoom. My name is Venus Mosier. I'm a National Vice President, and with us tonight we have a very special guest. Barbara Beaty is going to be telling us her story and maybe answering some questions on nutrition. I don't know, we'll see how much time we have, and give us her top tips. I am so excited to hear from you, Barbara. You are just a wealth of knowledge, and you are the sweetest, one of the sweetest national vice presidents that I know. Arbonne is full of so many wonderful people, but you definitely stand out. And I just want to thank you so much for your time. And we are all really excited to hear from you. So I'm just going to turn it right over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Venus, so much. And Venus blessed our team last week with her amazing stories. So all of you that are on her team, you are just so blessed to have such a rock star leader. We loved every second that we had her with us. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I was introduced to Arbonne 14 years ago. It was actually in 2004, and it was in February. I'll never forget it because it was about 2 weeks prior to my birthday. And I have a PhD in nutritional counseling. I had a nutritional counseling practice in Indian Wells, California. And I worked with doctors. I worked with chiropractors. We had a holistic approach to healing the body. So, the fact when a client asked me to evaluate the products, I was very interested because I could see that this was a whole body approach to wellness. I had never heard of Arbonne, and I have to say that when Claudia said, Barbara, I want you to look at these products for their health and wellness aspects, I said, well, Claudia, that everything you put in your body or put on your skin goes in your bloodstream. And as soon as those words came out of my mouth, I remember thinking, then how come I'm not paying attention to what I'm putting in my own body? Well, in 2004, it wasn't a big deal. It was just starting to people became aware of it. For so many years as a nutritionist, I was so concerned about what I was putting in my mouth, but I wasn't really thinking about what I was putting on my body. But I really questioned too, when I found out that Arbonne also had nutritional products, I questioned the validity of this company. Did they really know how to do both? So I was a huge skincare junkie, and to me, the thing that I was attracted to was the before and after pictures that were in that catalog. And I remember looking at those pictures and thinking, gosh, if I could get those results, this would be so worth me trying, because I was using really high skincare at the time. I was 47, and I was very much wanting anti-aging. So I just started using the RE9, and within about 2 weeks of using it, I really noticed an improvement on my skin. But better than that, people that I spent time with were noticing. I had a group of friends that I met with every week, they looked at me one day, one of my friends, Jennifer, and she says, Barbara, we're talking about you. Every time we see you, you look younger. And I went, ooh, that was like music to my ears. And she goes, what are you doing? I said, the only thing I'm doing different is I'm using this RE9, these orange bottles. And she was at my house at the time, and she goes, I want it. And it didn't take a lot for me to figure out that when somebody wants something and you're wearing it and people notice it, that it would make sense to refer it and to get paid on it. Now, prior to that, I had already signed up as a consultant, but I just signed up to get a discount. And the reason I say I remember the day I signed up, it was February 10th, 2004, because it was my birthday. I remember going out to eat with my family, and then coming after spending time in a restaurant, I had Arbonne on my mind so strongly. I could not get Arbonne off my mind. And I remember that that next morning, actually, that night, the morning of my time with my family, I ended up going home, picking up the telephone, and calling the person that was on the back of the catalog. Claudia, my friend Claudia, wasn't a consultant. She was just a host. And so I called the person on the back of the catalog and I said, is there a way to get a discount? And she said, yeah, and I signed up as a consultant. So when my friend Jennifer said, hey, we're noticing, it just made sense to look into the business. Now, the business opportunity for me was so completely out of my realm. And I think that most people, and most of you that are on this call, you probably can relate to that, that you saw something in this that was amazing, but you really super felt uncomfortable about it. And I remember when I heard that Arbonne was a network marketing company, I remember thinking, oh, I wish it wasn't. Because I had friends that had done that, and I just didn't like that. I didn't want to be able to use, I thought I was using my friends or taking advantage of people, and it didn't look professional. And so I struggled a lot. I struggled a lot with that whole business aspect. But as I started using the products, I didn't struggle with the products at all. So I did what we were told to do, had my business lunch. I invited everyone I know, and people stayed away by the droves. Actually, 7 people showed up. I think I invited 40 people and only 7 people showed up, and I felt like such a loser, but I was super excited. I was still super excited. So I went through the whole presentation, and by the way, no one had given me a presentation. I wrote my own presentation. There was no presentation. My upline was in another state. So I was like really completely by myself. There were no Arbonne consultants where I lived. So I wrote a presentation. I went through it. It was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday, and we finished at 11 o'clock at night. I had an 8-hour presentation. and I thought, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. Now, it's amazing to me that the people even stuck around, but we did everything. I mean, we did facials and butchels and you name it, we did it. I was just crazy with it and ended up actually booking 3 presentations off of that. So you can do everything wrong and still end up being right if you're excited. And I was super excited, and people could feel my passion. But the funny thing is that I never brought up the business. I was so afraid to bring up the business. So one of my friends came up to me and she goes, is there a business side to this? And I said, yeah, we'll talk about it later. Because I didn't even know how I was going to talk to her about it. I was so scared. And it took me 6 months. I went within a matter of a few weeks, I was a district manager just because of my passion for product. And for 6 months, I maintained a bonusing district, but it was me. I had no team members. And the fact that I look back at that, I worked really hard. I saw these EOAs. I saw what was possible, but I just couldn't get myself to get out there and really talk about business. So I went to, Donna Johnson had a retreat in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and it was for anybody. Now she has it for VPs, but then it was for anyone. And I was in her nation. She didn't know me. And I went to that retreat. I actually roomed with who would have been my regional vice president, Diane Partee. And we roomed together, and I was a nobody to her. She didn't know who I was. I was no one. And I remember her waking up, and I teased her this the next morning. She goes, I'm going to go meet with some members of my team for breakfast. And I was like, okay. And we didn't interact. I was alone. And I felt, and it wasn't her fault. She had a moving team and I was a nobody. So if you ever feel like you're not really special or important, it's okay. If you feel like maybe I'm not, nobody really notices me, It's okay. You create that for your own teams. Anyway, that weekend, I saw Dr. Jana Osborne for the first time and heard her story, and her story moved me so much that I came home on fire. I suddenly got the big picture, and I think that's really the importance of being able to go to a big event, to get your team members to go to Impact and to GTC, to be able to go to these events so that they can actually see the big picture. And when I saw what was really possible with Arbonne, it moved me to my core. And I remember one of the speakers said to me, or not to me, but I felt like he was talking to me. I was sitting in the very back of the room, and he said, I want you to write down on a piece of paper where you will be 1 year from today. And he had everybody close their eyes, and I closed my eyes, and I just could see it. I went, 1 year from today, I will be a regional vice president. And I wrote that down on this piece of paper, and I took it home with me. And then when I saw Diane, we walked through the hallways, my upline RVP, she's this little tiny gal, if you know her, and I'm 6 feet tall, and we look so funny, like Laurel and Hardy standing next to each other. And we would walk through those hallways, and I would say, I'm an RVP. I'm an RVP. She'd go, what? And I'd say, I'm an RVP. She's kind of giggled like, okay. And I began to understand the power of you have what you say. And I kept saying it. And I kept saying it. I'm a regional vice president. I'm an RVP. And the other thing I kept doing and saying was, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And there was times where I just forced myself to say it, because we create our world with the words we speak. And I was creating, there was times I was just like, ooh, I don't feel like I can do this. Because one of the things that I didn't mention is when Arbonne came into my life, I had the most massive trials that I have ever had. I've never had trials like that since. My daughter had just gone through a horrible divorce. Her 3-year-old son had just been diagnosed with severe autism. They came back to live with us. And my sister, who was like my best friend, was in the last stages of cancer, and I was taking care of her. I was working during the day, coming home. I would go to her house and do my part in caring for her, and then I would come back and I would get my bag ready to do presentations at night. There were times when I did my presentations at night where our little Joshua, who had the autism, would take all my catalogs and scribble all over him. And one time he did that, and he took a pin right to the screen of my computer, so it broke my computer. His emotions were off the chart. I was so stressed with my sister, with him, with what's going on. It was just so much. And I think some of you can relate. Somehow you might have a lot of pressure in your life. And the weirdest thing was, I felt like doing Arbonne was almost my escape of the crazy, crazy life that I was living. I was forcing myself to get through it. I remember there were times that I would be so exhausted, I would do a group presentation, and I would open up my garage door, and I would look in my little Honda, and I would say, God, I just can't do this. It's just too hard. I'm exhausted. And I heard in the back of my mind, or in my spirit, I heard the word souls, souls, souls. And I went, and he said, it's not about you. And if you can keep your mind on the people that you're going to impact and not what you're going to do for yourself, you can get through this. And that's what I did. And so I remember one time going down the freeway it took me 2 hours to go to this presentation There were supposed to be 20 people there. It was in a clubhouse, and I got there and no one showed up. And I was driving. I got in my car. I knew I had to work the next day. I was exhausted. My sister was really, really having a difficult time. My emotions were just about ready to crack. And I just wanted to cry. And then I put in Cecilia Stoll's Attitude, Belief, and Commitment. And when I listened to that, I visualized driving a white Mercedes and not a Honda on this road home. And I remember my daughter would say, how do you even do this, Mom? You're going to these presentations and you're doing this, but you're not getting ahead and you're not really making any money. How do you do it? And I said, I displace the hard times in my life with the vision of what it's going to be like, with the vision that I'm really driving that car. I could care less about a Mercedes, but I needed to displace the negativity with the positive and keep my vision there. And to make a long story short, from 13 months to the time I signed my name to that contract to be an Arbonne consultant, I had promoted to regional vice president. And when I went to get there was a certain kind of car that I wanted to get, and it was actually in Los Angeles, and we live in Palm Springs. And I had to drive on a freeway from LA. I picked up my car, which was amazing. Those of you that have your car is amazing. I picked up my car in LA, and I was driving on a freeway home to Palm Springs. And all of a sudden, this deja vu moment came. I was driving on the exact same freeway of the 2-hour ride into a presentation that no one showed up, and I visualized being in that Mercedes-Benz, and I was in that Mercedes-Benz. So that was 13 months into the business, and just 5 months after that, from going to region, I became a national vice president, and 6 months after that, ended up promoting to direct nations. We had so much craziness going on. I mean, it was like the growth was just out of control. And I totally know, and people say, how do you do it? I totally know it was really, I can say it was such a God thing. It was so him, because he taught me how to keep my vision where it needed to be. And he also showed me the power of speaking it. So I just say that because, this isn't even what I was planning on saying, but as I started talking here, I feel like this is the way I was supposed to go for somebody here. If you're going through really difficult times and you feel like it's really hard and you want to throw in the towel, I can tell you, when my daughter was writing out her divorce papers, and I was sitting there trying to figure out, back then ASVPs or RSVPs, and by the way, I didn't even know how to use the internet, so I was faxing everything in, and that was a nightmare itself. And all of a sudden my upline said, what are you doing? You can go online. I mean, it's how really barbaric I was. But I was sitting there, and we were figuring out how to do these RSVPs while she was doing divorce papers, and we both crying our eyes out, and we had tears all over the counter. And I said, one day we're going to look back at this and we're going to see a miracle. And that has been, ever since, I have never worked that hard again in Arbonne. I always say, for the first 2 years, if you're able to give it your all. For me personally, my story was I never worked that hard again. And I've always had an amazing paycheck with Arbonne, and this thing really works, but your vision is everything. And I have a few minutes, and I know that Venus asked me about sharing a little bit about 30 days. I just want to tell you guys, this is such a gift that we have with 30 days, because as a nutritionist, when I had people come into my office, what are the things I did? The first thing I did is I tested people for alkalinity, for their pH balance. And that was like the number one, 90% of the people that I saw, they were acidic. And we pretty much know that straight across the board. So what does 30 Days to Healthy Living do? It really helps that person to become balanced in their pH. And that is, if you're going to see nutritionists, that's the first thing they're going to do. The next thing I did is I put people on an elimination diet to determine what their food sensitivities were. Elimination diet, that's exactly what we do with 30 Days to Healthy Living. Got rid of the dairy and the gluten that we know that so many people's lives are turning around just by getting rid of those, but getting rid of some of the other allergenic foods like the peanuts and the soy and all of the foods that we're saying in 30 days you need to stay away from. That's what a nutritionist would do. If they sat down with you, they would show you how to eliminate those foods and how to drink more water and clear our body out of all of the toxins from the preservatives and the additives and artificial foods. That's what we do with 30 Days to Healthy Living, but we're not charging people hundreds of dollars to do it. That's why this is such a gift. So the key that too, I want you guys to remember with 30 days, we hear a lot about the alkaline diet today. This is the thing that makes Arbonne different. This isn't an alkaline diet. This is a balanced lifestyle. And you want to have your pH balanced. You don't want to be too acidic and you don't want to be too alkaline. That's exactly what 30 Days to Healthy Living does. For example, we allow berries on our plan. Well, berries could actually, blueberries especially, could be considered acidic. We don't, some alkaline diets are just like, get rid of anything that's acidic and just eat alkaline. We help people to become balanced, and balanced is everything. And we know that the body miracles will happen in the body once they become pH balanced, because one of the things that, you wonder, why is it you go on Facebook and you see multiple stories of people that have been healed of arthritis, autoimmune diseases, their weight is dropping off like crazy, their mood is better, their headaches are gone, their backaches are gone. Why do we have such widespread success with this plan? It's because we bring the body back into balance. And so many other plans like the keto plan, way too acidic. There's so many plans out there, try this, but we are a balance, and it's all about balancing the body. When you get the body balanced, you're going to have better bone density. You're going to have better muscle mass. Why do you think when people work out, they get better results with 30 days? Your human growth hormone is going to be able to be productive, and you're going to be able to produce more of vitamin D. Your vitamin absorption is better when you have a pH balance. And you're not going to have chronic pain. We hear this over and over again with 30 days. People are experiencing less pain or eliminating pain because there's so many studies out there, but there's one German study that showed that 86 patients with chronic back pain, do you know anybody with chronic back pain, were given an alkaline supplement to bring their acidic body back into balance. And of the 86 patients, 72 had significant improvement in back pain just by becoming pH balanced. So this whole plan helps the body to become pH balanced by getting rid, again, of these acidic foods. Guess what, too? There's 140 autoimmune diseases out there today. And guess what those 140 diseases have in common? They have in common gluten. Gluten sensitivity is huge. Dairy with joint pain. In fact, just recently, I had been experiencing some pain in a thumb that I've never had arthritis, but I had been enjoying a blue cheese kind of dip, which is obviously dairy. And I thought, what is going on with my thumb? I got rid of that completely, went back to no dairy, all pain completely gone. So Arbonne's products create an easy button, because the one thing that I consistently saw as a nutritionist was people were not able to do the elimination diet because it was too hard. They couldn't find dairy-free and gluten-free products to eat, or they wouldn't know how to combine it to put it together. The shake is just so perfect. It's a fast food that's dairy-free and gluten-free, and when we put in the healthy fat and the fiber and the greens and all that we put in it, we make it a fully balanced, hormonally balanced meal, and it makes the whole process of eliminating these foods so easy, and that's why we have such amazing success. And not to mention too, when we talk about alkaline, the greens balance, there's the word again, green balance really is such a way to quickly bring that body back into pH balance, and the chlorophyll is such a great way to detox. And the other thing is too, water, guys. Just know that water, there's a really great book out there. It's called Your Body's Many Cries for Water. And so many, from heart disease to joint pain to even cancer, can be related to a dehydrated body. People aren't drinking enough water. There was a CDC found that 43%, that's like nearly half of the people in the United States, drink less than 4 cups of water a day. And you wonder why we have a problem with obesity, because we know that the brain is going to be able to determine if you're thirsty or if you're hungry. It's the same mechanisms in the brain that let you know. So many people are eating when they're really thirsty. And what do we have that help people to be able to drink more water? Our amazing fizz sticks. And the fizz sticks are like the most amazing product. I always say that we could have a complete network marketing company just on the fizz sticks. And now, guys, they're even getting better. We're getting, I know, a notification, if we haven't on our email already today, that there will be no more maltodextrin in the fizz sticks. Yay. By the way, I'm on the nutritional task force with Arbonne, and I am pushing hard for no maltodextrin. Not so much that our maltodextrin was that bad because it was non-GMO, but because of labeling and because of marketing. We want to be able, when we go into somebody's living room, to show the most amazing products ever, and not to have anybody have a questionable ingredient and look at that and think, ooh, do I really want this company? I'm so grateful that Arbonne listens. And so we're not going to have the maltodextrin, and we're not having cornstarch, so we don't have to worry about asking people about that. And one of the things they did do is they actually removed the EGCG, and that is the component from green tea. And I'm really okay with that, because the green tea that's going to be done probably in July, they're going to slowly phase out what they have, but they do have just the regular green tea in it without the additional EGCG, which is totally fine. Because what they've done is they've replaced that with coenzyme Q10, and coenzyme Q10 is such an amazing anti-aging antioxidant. And it does so many things. It helps to help your food go into energy. Again, it helps with muscle mass, helps to regulate your appetite. We all want that. Helps to reduce cellular free radical damage. And it slows down the aging process by increasing the person's energy as they get older and reversing the degeneration of organs like your liver, to help your liver to work more effectively. Plus, it has rhodiola, which we all know. We've had rhodiola in it for a while, and you probably already know this, but I like to say this every time I talk about fizz sticks, is that rhodiola really works like an antidepressant. And if you think, why do I feel so good on these fizz sticks? I always say, if you ever get depressed about your business, drink a fizz stick. They'll lift your mood immediately, because we found there was a study with 150 people that were clinically depressed, and they gave them rhodiola for 1 month, and 2/3 of that clinical study, 2/3 of them went into remission, had no more depression issues. So do we have amazing products or what? And I wanted to really touch on how Arbonne addresses not only physically, mentally, emotionally, but with 30 Days to Healthy Living, it is 30 days to healthy living and beyond. We help people not just 30 days. This program helps people to live a healthy lifestyle the rest of their life and to show their family and friends how to do the same and to really leave a legacy for generations to come. So no matter how hard you might think it might be, I'm going to tell you, once you get to the top of the mountain, the view is amazing and it's worth everything to get to the next level. It's worth everything to get to National Vice President. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Venus.
Well, I took 2 pages of notes. You are just absolutely amazing. And first off, you got to Nation in, you said what, 14 months?
18 months.
18 months. Region 14 months, Nation 18 months, without the nutrition.
Yes.
Totally. And that's your forte. That is your thing. So, yes. I mean, you must have been jumping out of your skin when Arbonne decided to delve into the nutrition.
Oh, totally. And they've done such a great job. I mean, I have to say, I'm so impressed because I've worked with a lot of nutritional companies and products. We really are the cleanest of the clean, and more now than ever. So, I mean, we can be so proud of what we represent.
Totally. And the what you were talking about with mindset and visualizing, I mean, I don't think people really, not everyone really gets that, but I think you explained it beautifully. You know, what we think about the most becomes our reality. And even if you aren't quite where you want to be, when you talk to yourself and tell yourself and, you know, I am, and raise the arms up and feel the power, I mean, it works. It totally works.
You know, I have to tell you a story about that. I was on my way to a health food store when I was a district manager. I was a district manager. And I was saying, business builders come to me, business builders come to me. I was yelling it in my car. And I walked into this health food store and this lady came up to me. I didn't recognize her. And she said, "Are you Barbra Beaty?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "You called me on my phone." I go, "No, I didn't." She goes, "Well, you actually called the wrong number. You called a Betty and my name is Nancy, but you said you were with a company called Arbonne." I go, "I remember making that phone call." She goes, "What's Arbonne?" So I told her what Arbonne was. The next night she came with me to a presentation. I gave her an RE9 kit to try, which she gave to a friend that she met at a Bible study. That friend became my second promoted national vice president because I called a wrong number, but I was saying business builders come to me.
Oh my goodness. I love that. I love those kind of stories. That is just awesome.
So, I mean, there's no, you know, what we sometimes we think, you know, we always say it's not magic, it's math. It's that, but there's a certain supernatural element by us creating it by the words we say.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What we think about, we bring about, our aura, everything, you know, it's magic. It's totally. I like to call it magic too. But is it okay for me to open up the call for like maybe a few minutes and just,
sure.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Barbra? You know, if maybe I'll start off because I can think of one. If for those people who aren't very well versed and aren't as knowledgeable as someone like you in the healthy living, but they want to talk about it more, you actually gave us some really good tips, but would there be anything else that you would add to what you've already said?
The biggest, most important, we know this in our bond, that information tells, stories sell. If you haven't gone through it yourself, you're not going to have a story. So the only way to get the story is to go through it yourself. And your story is going to sell more than any bit of information that you throw out there.
Yeah, love it. Great. Does anybody else have any questions for Barbra? Lorraine, do you have one? I see you unmuted.
I know, I'm trying to, can you hear me?
Yes.
I just wanted to say thank you. I thought Barbra was great.
Yes, she was great. You were absolutely amazing. So, yeah, so This is going to be awesome. We're going to have this available for everyone to listen to again and again. Like I said, I took 2 pages of notes. You were a wealth of knowledge, Barbara. Your story, I didn't realize how many similarities you and I have to our story, signing up under someone we didn't know and kind of making it on our own. And it took me about, I think it was 16 months from when I said yes. It took me longer to become a nation, though. So you really got me there.
It's a blessing, though. Isn't it a blessing actually not to have the help, because it forces you to get out of your comfort zone and not be dependent on somebody else?
Absolutely.
You know, I think some of the best things can happen to a consultant is not have their upline close to them, so they're forced to get out there on faith.
Yeah.
Totally true. Totally true. Well, I'm just going to say a call out to Ricky, who is calling in from the UK. It's got to be 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning there.
Wow.
So, but yes,
dedication.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time, Barbara. I so appreciate you. You were amazing.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you too, Venus. I love this wonderful Arbonne family that we have.
It is great. We are so lucky. All right, guys. Well, you have a blessed night. Thank you again, Barbara.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.